In my last assignment, I had the chance to work with school kids and do a lot of stuff at the school. And inevitably, you'd always be on the playground, and kids would start having disagreements and fights. And sometimes they would, get into little scuffles, and you'd have to separate them and start to figure out what the problem was. And they always want to tell you what the other person did. I was just like that when I was a kid too. But inevitably, there's always like, this person did this to me, and so I had to do this, or that's why I did that. That's the only reason. And it's totally justified in our minds when this happens. When someone acts badly against me, it's only natural that I have every right to do this back to them. But it's not the way of the gospel, nor is it the way that we are called to live as human beings. What Jesus tells his disciples in the crowds today, he says it's not those things that are from without that defile, but those things that come from within that have the power to defile. So what he's saying is that all of these people in Israel, all the Jews and those in Israel, see all of these things as making them impure or unclean. So that if they go and were to touch a Gentile, that would make them unclean. They would have to go ceremonially wash. When they go to the marketplace, they have to wash before they can eat at home in a ceremonial way, so that they're not unclean in that way. But he's saying it's not those things that are from without that defile us. He's saying that when we act in ways that are evil, or that are not in keeping with God's will, with what God has taught us, those are the things that can defile us, because they come from within the heart. They come from what he means, from the very core of who we are. We can act and we can partner with these things that are less than God. Things like what he says are, unchastity, evil thoughts, greed, malice, deceit, arrogance, blasphemy. Those things don't come from God, but we can consent to those things. The thing is just like every child has to learn in school, that you don't have to. You don't have to react with violence when someone else commits violence against you. You don't have to react with harsh words when someone else says something hurtful to you. And so this is the way of the gospel, that we have to know how to control our own passions. Today we celebrate the feast of Saint Josephine Bakhita, who was a slave for most of her life. She was thrown around to different slave owners who all of them mistreated her so badly. She was just a terrible life, but she kept a spirit of joy. She eventually ended up at a convent where the sisters there taught her all about the Lord and about Christianity, and she fell in love with Jesus. And she didn't harbor anger and resentment against others. She could have been justifiably bitter and angry all for the rest of her life, but she wasn't. Because she knew Jesus, she didn't react in those ways. So we can ask the Lord today for the ability, the grace to not allow those things into our hearts that defile, to not allow them out, so that we might be more like him, that we might be more holy like him, and look more like him to those around us.